For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, WFO Radio. We are back on the air. We got Ron Capps going to be joining us just seconds from now. And I know you're thinking like this, if you're watching live on YouTube, if you're watching live on Twitter, you're probably saying this is not when WFO normally happens. And the answer is no, it's not. But what we do is we're totally flexible with our driver guests, and we're knocking this one out. Maybe we're going to knock it out, and you're going to love it because we got Caps just seconds from now. But first, I want to tell you about the people who make it possible for me to go WFO, and they are our great sponsors, and we appreciate them just like the drivers. Without the sponsors, the cars don't go down the racetrack. Without the sponsors, WFO does not happen. Proud to welcome Phillips Connect, Phillips-Connect.com, great website where you can see all the different sensors and tools useful to fleet drivers with lots of trucks and trailers. They do Amazon, for instance, and let's assume that you've got a truck or a trailer out there in the industry and a tire is heating up, say, right? Well, there's a sensor on their tractor trailer that sends a signal back to the mothership and lets people know, hey, get that truck off the road. They have been working on this technology for a long time. They're now hitting the market. Of course, you see them on the side of Justin Ashley's race car, and we are super proud to have Phillips Connect as a sponsor of WFO Radio. We'll be learning more. We'll both be learning more together over the coming weeks. Also, our great friends at Total Seal Piston Rings. This Friday, new Hidden Horsepower podcast with the 5-time Pro Stock World Champion, Greg Anderson, who is going to talk about how he went from being a car guy to an engine guy and learning all the details of ring seal and honing and all of the elements that go into making power in a Pro Stock car. Greg Anderson, kind of a very different interview with Greg. You'll be able to get that at TotalSeal.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. But really, it's all an exercise in the education of why ring seal is so important from stock eliminator to Formula One. TotalSeal.com. You already heard about VP Racing Fuels. Super excited to have those guys on board. VPRacingFuels.com and FTIPerformance.com. Big supporters of WFO Radio. And later on in the show, we'll tell you about Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Of course, Marvin Rodax, CoffeeandGrills.com, and Sam Tech. We're heading down that way to Houston, Texas. But now it is time to bring him on. And I hope we get energized Ron and not like super relaxed back from Hawaii, chilled out Ron. Because this guy won his first race as a team owner, and now he is on WFO. What's up, Ron? How are you?
I feel like laid back, Ron.
I know. That's why I nailed you. I knew you were wearing the Hawaii shirt, right? Like, look at you. Look at you.
Yeah. Whenever I want to feel like I need to relax, I'm on vacation a little bit, I just put the Napa Hawaii shirt on.
They're all tan. Look at this guy. He's all sunburnt and everything. Okay, so a lot to get to, right? There's a lot to get to, but let's start from what you just got back from. Like, why were you in Hawaii? What were you doing there? I saw some of your social bits, and this is a yearly trip for you. You always go out there, and it's a big deal to them that you come out, and you kind of made the most of it.
Yeah, prior to the pandemic, I went out 14 years straight. And it used to be at the end of the season, and then we started the Caps fan cruise. So then they moved it to October, and it was always that break we get prior to the Dallas race. So I always got back and then went to the Dallas race after spending 6 or 7 days in Hawaii. And people go, oh my gosh, terrible job you have having to go to Hawaii. Let me tell you, it's fun and it's great. There's a lot of NAPA drag race fans. In fact, they love their drag racing on the islands. And they don't have NASCAR tracks, but they do have drag strips, and believe it or not. And there's a lot of race cars, a lot of cooped up cars sitting in the garages that come out. They got a track on Maui, they got a track on Kauai, which is unbelievable. I've posted pictures of the overhead of that track, and it's literally, you walk out of the pit area through some hedges and you're on one of the most awesome beaches you've ever seen. So that's crazy. And they got one on the Big Island too. So it's about, I don't know, 3 or 4 islands in about 6 days normally, and about 8 or 9 appearances. So it's just scattered. And yeah, we bounce around and we do a lot of appearances and stuff like that. But this one was more of getting to say hi and thank you to our NAPA employees over there. So I went to 2 islands, and it was really, they're behind us a little bit. They're just having their first get together since the pandemic. So that was cool for me to give out awards at their big Triple Crown and do some sponsor fun stuff with just employees, no public appearances, and just a quick trip. And when in Vegas was pretty cool to take that and go right to Hawaii with all of our people over there. They send thousands to our Vegas race, especially in October. So it's a huge event for them. And I'm sure a lot of them are tuned in right now.
Tell me about these folks.
That is the people that run the Maui Raceway Park is what it is. And it's a lot of volunteers. So we had this get together on Maui. I was there for a few days first, and this is the first time I've seen them for quite a while. It's a volunteer group. They have a timing association there. They come out, a lot of volunteers. It's a great racetrack. One year I took James Hetfield from Metallica. He's got a house over there, and we tried to keep it down low. And I had a guy supply a couple of not race cars, but not street cars, but kind of in between.
Sure.
And brought James out, and we made a couple runs down the track and raced each other. And that was just a fun thing to do, but great racetrack. And Joe, I'm telling you right now, there are so many race cars. Like I'll show up at these events and I'm like, I look over, there's a blown alcohol dragster and a funny car and an altered and a bunch of really cool, super gas, super gomp cars that you wonder, how do they get them over here? And then, when do they get to race them? And thank God they got a drag strip, because it's a pretty cool thing to see all these race cars in Hawaii.
Well, it makes sense, and then think about, Roland and there's a history there, and close to California. I know people from Cali, like yourself, go out there like to vacation, like it's a quick flight. Maybe it's not quick flight, but it's a flight. And it has to work in reverse, right? The whole drag race culture from California, like surfing and drag racing, they're close. They are very 2 peas in a pod of the things that people did at that time. And it just makes sense. Surfing and drag racing, they are brothers.
Yeah, Roland is still unbelievably famous over there. In fact, I went into just a surf shop, and there was some cool old school Roland Leong, like pictures from the 65 Winter Nationals shirts in like a surf shop with Roland Leong and like a pineapple or something on it. It was pretty cool. So I snagged a couple of those. But yeah, he's still a legend over there.
Wow, that is awesome. No, it's great. And you know what? Like Roland is another, that's one of the legends that we have not had on WFO. He gave me his number a couple of years ago. He agreed to come on, and we just haven't followed through. I think I'd like, and you've said like you want to be involved with that. Let's figure that out this year if we can.
Yeah, let's get him on. Snake actually was up there with Galvin, a couple of guys visiting Roland. He's been down on his health a little bit. But they were at his house. They all called me and put me on a speakerphone. So, yeah, Roland's doing much better.
That's great. That is great. Amazing stuff. All right, let's talk about this win, because everybody's out there wishing you congratulations on the win. And this is one we were all looking forward to, because it was going to kind of cement all the gamble that you took to go out on your own as a team owner, right? There was no guarantee. Ron Capps looking for his first win again. This time as the guy who's signing the checks. This time, all those cliches and everything. There was no guarantee it was going to happen, but you are the champion. You have a great team, everybody in place, runner-up of the Winter Nationals. But it happened fast. You're on the board with the Vegas 4-wide and a really strong performance out there. So just kind of walk me through how meaningful it is. We'll talk about the round by round a little bit, because you had performed very well. Its car has been so consistent, but just big picture, now that you've accomplished it, looking back, like we did it, it's done, the first win. Yeah,
really the Winter Nationals, going back to that, I mean, it was like a dream start. Everything came together so fast, as you know, PRI and the announcement and all that. We've been over that before, but it's crazy how great everything started, including preseason testing. We didn't make a whole lot of runs. We were conservative, and then to go to Pomona, grab the pole, and then go to the final round. I was staging the car next to Robert, and I thought, my gosh, if we win this, it's already been an incredible weekend, an incredible start. But yeah, and then we kind of, I made a mistake in Phoenix and Gainesville. We smoked the tires in the semis, and Guido was down on himself a little bit, but we knew we had a great race car. And it was cool in Vegas to, we went into that last Q2 Friday night. Guido was trying to run about the same number, 87, 88. And we were way over in one of the right-hand lanes, and it didn't stick. And we've had some pretty cool input for track surface, what's going on, some engineers that have been helping Guido, and it's been pretty cool feedback. And actually, they told him the track was better than what he thought it was. And so Q4 to go up and get out of his box a little bit, which he loves, and what I love about Guido is, yeah, we're good in the heat, but when it's time to throw down, jump back, man, because he can throw down with anybody, and he loves getting up there with Jimmy Prock and Venables and Del Worsham and just throwing down the numbers as a crew chief. So as a driver, Height, Hagan, J.R. Todd, everybody, us drivers, we know in those conditions, you better strap in a little extra tight. And sure enough, we went down that left lane and ran low ET and ended up number 1 spot there in Vegas. But that was kind of the precursor to Sunday, because we knew it was going to get hotter. And, it's just, I love the fact that Guido and Medellin came together in such, we weren't sure the track would hold it. And I'm sure a lot of the fans were like, wow, are we going to see a number like we saw Height throw out? And it was nice to do that final Q4.
Yeah, big deal. While this is all happening, you've got special guests there. Ronnie the Limo Driver. I'm going to play an interview. Ronnie the Limo Driver, which if you're a fan of the Stern Show, you know him immediately. If you're not a fan of the Stern Show, you have no idea who we're talking about. And but you're hosting him in the pit area, which prompted this whole cascading thing. Like Brian Loans, who is a big fan of the Stern Show, they hosted him on the Fox show, and next thing you know, Brian is on the Stern Show. Like, how crazy is that? And it's probably some of the best publicity that NHRA Drag Racing has gotten to a mass appeal audience. Like, what are we talking about here? Brian is on there. They're talking about Ronnie. Ronnie was there. I got an interview I'm going to play here in a minute or two. But how did that come together? That Ronnie is out there. The reason I bring it up now is he was there for qualifying. He witnessed your number 1 qualifying interview, and he had a lot of great things to say.
Yeah, just I've been a fan of the show for a long time. Actually, I used to listen before he went to Sirius XM, Howard Stern anyway, when I first moved to San Diego to drive for Don Perdome. And Snake is the one that turned me on to him. There's so many closet Howard Stern listeners that don't talk about it. Next thing you know, I mean, they're very hip on what's going on. And, of course, he's one of the best interviewers, and he gets a lot of good stuff out of people. And so I love his interviews. We got to go on, my publicist, Allie, got us on the Howard Stern wrap-up show twice, and I was blown away to go do that. Well, Ronnie and I stayed in contact prior to that. We were sort of trying to get him out to Englishtown before it went away, since they film and tape everything there in New York. And being a lifelong show listener, Howard is not a race car guy or a car guy, but we used to try to get him out all the time. So staying friends with Ronnie. Finally got on the wrap-up show. We stayed in contact. Then he moved to Vegas. And listen, if you listen to the show, all this. It's a pretty good topic. And so I kept texting him every time we'd race in Vegas. And finally, this time, he texted back and said he'd be able to come out. So it was final. He's a race car guy. He loves it. He's Kurt Busch's buddy in NASCAR, and he's talked about us before on the Howard Stern show. But it was cool to get Ronnie out to experience everything on our end, and starting line and pit area, and he was just blown away. So yeah, the text, what you're going to play, the text I got from Brian Loans, we were getting ready to head to Hawaii, and I could sense he was shaking when he sent me this text, like he just got off the Howard Stern show, and I didn't believe him. I went, yeah, would you, the wrap-up show or something? He said, no, I called into the Howard Stern show. And then all of a sudden I got all these messages and people sending all these clips, and yeah, he called in, talked to Howard, and Howard had him on and was Brian talked about the influence he had on him growing up.
Yeah,
and his voice, and Howard gave him compliments. And so then next thing you know, Howard Stern, which I don't know how many million, 5 million, 6 million, who knows, followers, they posted a video of Ronnie being interviewed by you guys and the Fox team at the race, which I didn't know. I just made the run. I interviewed him at the starting line. So that became a whole topic, and that was talked about on the show. So it was pretty cool for us Howard Stern listeners like you. It was pretty neat.
Well, so I'm a talk radio person who happens to also be a drag racer, and this job is really the merging of those two things. Drag racing as a hobby and a competitive endeavor, and then talk radio as work and a professional entertainer. Like, that's what I really liked. And I grew up, my guy, in South Florida, there were a couple that I liked. A guy named Neil Rogers, who I worked with and is a Hall of Famer. And when he died, Howard actually eulogized him. And also a gentleman named Phil Hendry, who was out there on the West Coast, worked in Miami for a while, does voices, has done voiceover for the show Rick and Morty and a bunch of things. And it's great. But always loved Howard. Come on. Just Howard wasn't always on here in South Florida. When I could listen to Howard, I did. And obviously the late night shows, you remember E! Entertainment, I believe they had all those late night shows, the movies. You can't be a talk radio person who loves the format. And Howard says it, it's kind of a dead, dying thing right now. But to have that connection was cool. But also to know Ronnie the Limo Driver is famous because he's Howard's limo driver, and that's it. So I go into Ronnie is with you coming up for the winners, the number one qualifier interview. I decide this moment is big enough that I need to break certain protocol since we're pretty much done and go interview Ronnie, and I'm me. And so I start asking him some questions, and I ask him about Stern, and he doesn't like that. And it starts to go sideways. And he starts to get a little grumpy. And everybody knows that Ronnie, he's not into that, right? Don't ask me about Stern. And it starts to go south bad. And then Ron Capps comes in and saves the day. Let's watch the interview. Hopefully it will work because I'm playing it off my computer. Let's watch Ron Capps save me from Ronnie the Limo Driver. It wasn't bad, but you could see it was kind of getting a little. Everybody, we're here with Ronnie the Limo Driver from the Howard Stern Show. Everybody knows I'm a talk radio junkie. Obviously, I grew up on Stern. Ronnie the Limo Driver, you're here in person hanging out with Ron Capps. What's it like?
It's been amazing watching his crew work on that car, breaking down that engine after every run. 1, 2, 3, it's done. They're so skilled, and to watch him from the line run down that track, the way that car dug in and just grabbed that, you can't even. Just too many words, man. It's just too many words for this.
Now, what about those guys? Obviously, they kind of bust your chops. New York City, cars, racing, all of that. You're a car guy, limo driver. But the feeling of nitro, the intensity of drag racing. You can't even say it. But how do you explain to someone who just doesn't quite get it?
It was an insane feeling to stand there right behind that car when it went down the track. To have the nitro in your eyes, burning, and you could hardly breathe. Your body was shaking. But it was an amazing thing to see.
All right, you coming tomorrow? You coming for eliminations, or was today one and done?
Tomorrow's NASCAR.
Tomorrow's
Kurt Busch Day.
Okay, all
I
right.
get to watch my buddy on TV, but that's where I'm going to be.
Well, I don't know. I think maybe we got to try to twist your arm, get you out here a little bit, though. All right, what's it like, being a character on the Stern Show?
We don't talk about the Stern Show.
Yeah, all right. I get it. Well, thanks for coming out.
I'm not here to talk about him.
Yeah.
I'm here to...
And then here comes Ron Capps. Capps, look at this guy. Look at this. Get in here, Capps. Get in here. All right, we're talking.
I'm here for the Howard Stern
He doesn't
Show.
care about this.
I'm here to support
still on it.
radio.
No, that makes sense. Number one, final quad.
Well, it was cool having him up there. That was like showing off for, Guido and Matt done a great job. It was cool doing the burnout and see him standing there.
That crew of yours, man, to watching him break that engine down and in a matter of minutes, it was amazing.
And go number one in the final quad, steal it, because at first you guys weren't running that great. You weren't going down. Were you working on something?
No, we tried to do that last night, and we were talking. I was trying to explain little nuances of the sport to Ronnie, and we were just talking about the heat of the track and how you really had to try to slide it but get it to lock up, and that's exactly what they did that run. They got it to hook up in that left lane. So tomorrow ought to be fun, but today in the heat to do that and have him here was bitching, because we've been trying to get him to come hang out with us.
Until you see it in person, you just can't explain it.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Just amazing.
Thank you for coming out, Ron. Congratulations. NHRA from Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
He's the man.
There it is. And so Ronnie, hey, we don't talk about the Stern Show. We don't talk. Ronnie, that's why people want to talk to you. But man, that was pretty cool just to see taking apart the engine. Like we as, veterans, that really is impressive to people who are there for the first time. Like how on earth are they taking the engine apart that rapidly?
Yeah. It's always, I love having people out like that, or, people I look up to in music that, I get to go and watch them or stand on the side of the stage and watch how they go off and play. And it's great to see that same thing and watch the, somebody that really watches it and loves it, but never has been that close. And he was in awe, which was cool. I forgot that I threw a Baba Booey out right at the end.
You did.
That's pretty funny.
Come on, how can you not? Like, don't get upset with us for being fans of something that is like 40 years in the making, right? It's great stuff. All right, let's get back. Good job by you on that, by the way. Like you and Allison. Allison does such a great job of reaching out beyond the drag racing world, and she's a behind the scenes person and chooses to be that way. But there have been so many celebs that have come out to the races over the past couple of years that she has engaged with and built awareness of the sport of NHRA drag racing thanks to her efforts. So good job, Allie, if you're out there. All right, let's talk about, 4 wide and this final round. Like, look at this. This is as throwdown as it gets. You can't build a better quad than that for the fans out there. You mentioned the track was really good. We had a bunch of people get stuck to the track like flypaper on the track walk. And I knew, okay, everybody's getting stuck to the track. That's going to be a big day. And it certainly was. So walk us through the final round, and then we'll talk about some of the stuff that happened after.
Well, and I got some beef with Tony and Loans. I got to talk. I didn't know this. And then apparently they were just talking about those 2 cars in the middle, and weren't talking much about Alexis and I. And then I watched the clip, and then Brian, when we went, he's like, "Oh, there's a car we didn't talk about much." And I get it. Hey, height, obviously they can throw down big numbers, him and Jimmy, and obviously Dickie and Hagan, and those are 2 great race car drivers that it's always like a final round when you race them. But I knew we had that left lane. We had second choice of lanes, and for the fans, you get this process going at the 4 wides, and we're going to do it again here in a couple races in Charlotte, that you first or second, you advance the next quad until the final round. And obviously quickest gets first choice, second quickest gets second choice. So throughout the weekend, we did like that far left lane, and I was a little shocked. And I think Guido was, even though lane 2 was picked by Robert, he had just thrown down a pretty awesome number the quad before that. So we knew that they were capable of running what he ran in qualifying, which was an 88. Conditions were a little bit cooler at that point, and so you didn't know it. If you're going to test the track, it's final round, were the conditions as good as qualifying? We didn't know, but you also don't want to go up to a gunfight with a knife, right? That's the sort of joke, but it's not really. You got to throw down if you're going to go against Dickie and Height, but also you got Del Worsham, who obviously can run good at any given time. So we went up to the run within, I rolled it in a little bit, so it probably went 89 in the final. I think it ended up with a 91. So it was a great run by Guido and those guys. And I think Robert at the top end of the track told me he might have put a cylinder out, and I'm not sure about Hagen's. They probably were. I think it wore a little more clutch than they wanted to, but that's part of it. And just a great job by Guido, consistency all day long. And that was, you look at that picture you showed of the final round, and it just makes you, that's intense right there. I mean, you got 3 other great race cars and 3 other great drivers, and that's a throwdown picture.
That's a throwdown picture, like the championships and the experience, like not just the drivers, but everybody involved with each of those teams, right? Like that's it, a who's who of the best, Nikki and Del, obviously Dickie and Alex and Stretch and those guys, Chris and Jimmy, like my goodness, John Medlin, like the people involved with those cars right there, which is why I have, more and more people accepting of the 4 wide, because it gives you a moment like that, which you're not going to get anywhere else. You get a moment like that, and you came out on top. So they didn't talk about you guys, huh?
Yeah, I didn't know that. And I kept getting messages. So yeah, I'll get with Brian Loans here down the road in Houston, and I don't blame them. You know, Robert had throw down a pretty awesome number. We knew Dickie could run well, but come on, we were low qualifier. We ran great every session. So
if you had been the reigning world champion, then Ron, then there's a good chance they would.
You might have talked about me more and my team. Yeah,
the sports reigning world champion. I'm just messing with loans and telling you.
I know.
It's hard. It's four teams you got to like analyze prior to the final, and it's just a very different thing for everybody that participates, including the broadcasters. And that's also the broadcaster jinx. Who did I talk about the least? That's the person that's going to win. It's just the way the cosmic forces work out. All right, so you won the race, and some really cool things happened. Which, you know, this is such a big deal, but you should have been expecting this. I don't know. Come on, Ron. You should have expected first time as a team owner, you get the win and the guys pulled a prank on you and they gave you the rookie treatment.
I did not expect it. And I heard a weird noise behind me and I actually scrambled to get up. I thought something was breaking. It was a weird sound. It was the sound of ice. And we got a new Dometic Coolers as one of our new partners. And that thing it had as hot as it was that day, that kept that same ice all day long sitting out in the sun. So, yeah, I didn't expect it, Joe. And I keep forgetting I'm a team owner. I get asked like from you guys, but honestly, I'm packing my chutes and getting ready the next run. And it's somebody, either a fan says something or I look up and I see the name of Ron Capps Motorsports, or it's just little reminders. But I show up at the track as if I have the last, 15, 20 years, and I'm showing up to be a driver, and I just sort of forget that until somebody asks me something. And I think I like it. I actually like that part of it. Once we get into race day, it's like this, and you need to focus on that, not the business side of things. So, but yeah, I did not. I guess I should have expected that, but they got me good. It felt good.
They got you so good. Well, right. How meaningful that is. And that's kind of a tradition throughout the sport. Like someone new gets the ice bath when they get their first win. And you got your first win. But as happy as you were, first of all, I think it's great that you are able to, I guess, capsulize the ownership role and not carry it with you into the car. And that's probably going to make you a better driver. The more stuff you've got floating around. Didn't you say something about an invoice? Like, did I send an invoice? Like you thought, like,
yeah,
the body comes down and you're thinking about an invoice that you forgot to send somebody.
I thought I did. My wife is pretty good about taking on the business side of things with the invoices. And I actually did. And then I'm telling myself, this is what goes on in drivers. I'm sure the other drivers have these same thoughts of something going on. And it's always been something. And you're actually quietly telling with the helmet, you're telling yourself to get that thought that your brain just had out of your brain. It's like you're talking to yourself and these thoughts are bouncing around. It probably sounds like I'm a little nutty, but it at Phoenix, I lost on a whole shot to force and just a freaky weird light for me. And I felt like I had some stuff in my head that affected me, I thought. And so I made sure I talked to Paul Mecca, our team manager, and I wanted to make sure those thoughts and those things I was worried about were not a problem when I got in the car from then on in Gainesville. And so we had somebody take on that and it got that away from me, so I didn't have to worry about it. And so it's little things like that. Tim Wilkerson's been great. Forrest, all these people that have called me and talked to me about this ownership thing, about being a driver and an owner. And it's neat for me to be able to talk to Del Worsham and Antron Brown and all these people about what to expect. And Don Perdome has just been, dude, he calls me a few times a week. Hey man, just checking on you, kid. Everything all right? Do you need anything? Have you checked on this or that? And he's just been unbelievable. So yeah, it's nice to have that support.
Well, good for Snake. Thank goodness. Right. We've seen him out there a couple of years ago, obviously with the Austin car, and he hasn't been back, for a little bit, but it's great that he's giving you that support. And I would assumed that he would. And I'm sure that this ownership situation has brought people to the forefront. And it's not like Don didn't need help or anything, but Don didn't need help, right? Like, guys want to make sure that you're successful. Like all this that you've done over the last 30 years, it's all coming back right now, right? Everyone's like, there's no way you weren't going to fail regardless, but there's no way that the people that have worked with you along the way are going to let that happen.
No, but you never know, right? And you just, it's like these great people at NAPA that own these stores. They're all, owned by people in your neighborhood, and they're small business owners. And I have approached this on the business side as if I bought this NAPA store, and it's a small business. It's American dream to have your own, whatever company, whatever business you're in. So I just have the luxury. It's a race car team. So I've had that support system. But yeah, I mean, the best part, Joe, has probably been the sponsors that I've represented as a driver on a car that somebody else has owned for years, whether it was Don Perdome or Don Schumacher, come forward and want to support me as a team owner and our team. Those things, comp cams and CHE, and you go down this list of these small sponsors that you see these contingency size stickers on cars. And for the fans, NAPA Auto Parts, Gear Wrench Tools, you see all the big stuff on our cars, but you still couldn't do it with all these small sponsors, and you can't get out and repeat them every interview, but it's nice for them to be known. But I can't tell you how cool it's been to have these people call out of the woodworks and say, hey, how can we help you more on our end? And that's gratifying. And so I'm just trying to feed the machine, which is Guido and Madeline, right? And this whole team that came with me on this venture. I've said it before, I think we're the only Nitro team that had every person come back in the same role and nobody new on the team. And on top of it, they went with I'm not a kid anymore, but they went with somebody new as a team owner on this venture out. I mean, who knows, what was going to happen. So it is very gratifying to have all these people come along and try to support.
This is what it's supposed to be, though. Like if you're, you've already had kids, right? I don't have kids, but I've seen people who have had kids, and like that understanding the real, like, oh my gosh, like the bigger than me, there's things bigger than me. And you're building something now. And if drag racing is going to continue on for another 20 or 30 years, hopefully, and grow into a even bigger deal, people like you and Antron and others have to continue their involvement and keep people, like Paul involved in the sport. Speaking of people, though, and it was very emotional. Tell me about these two. Tell me about Gail and Tony.
Gail and Tony, longtime NAPA people. I actually met Tony, and he's fighting. He's gone through cancer, and he's still at every race. He can't even eat right now, and he came to that race. But they went to every banquet until we won the championship. Whether we finished 8th or 9th, they would go to our NHRA banquet with us, and just staunch supporters. And I've always wanted to give them something special at a race, a trophy, and that was, I didn't even think twice about it. Yeah, it's first win for Ron Capps Motorsports, but having them there, having him show up like that, and to give them that trophy, that Wally, was pretty incredible. I mean, pretty emotional moment. And so I was glad to be able to do that there. They're very supportive. And those are those moments that you wish you could do. And you very rarely get to win with special people like that around, that you can actually do something like that.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's so many layers of emotion. All right, let's look forward. We're heading to Houston next week, the final Spring Nationals out there at Houston Raceway Park. You've been teasing announcements. I'm not pressuring. There's no way. I know everybody is constantly asking and constantly wondering what's happening, but announcements coming soon, not at Houston, though. Somewhere relatively soon, but not at Houston.
Not in Houston, but very closely after Houston. There'll be something pretty special coming for us, and it's been hard to wait for it, and super excited about it. And I think the fans will love it. I got to tell you, the first 4 races we've been to now, it has been crazy. I feel like this team, being a team owner, the fans feel that way, and I feel like the fans own part of this team. It's nuts to be out there packing the chute and have fans come up and just pat you on the back and say, man, new team owner, we're with you. We're so happy. And so it's just a crazy feeling. You feel like you've got all this support behind you from our fans. So it's been, that part's been a lot of fun. I think they're going to enjoy this next announcement. And, we wanted to make it in the off season. It just didn't work out. And we've been working really hard on both sides. And I think it's going to be great for the sport as well.
Yeah, let's not go any further. Let's just let it be out there. And when it happens, that'll be another reason to talk to Ron on WFO. Final Spring Nationals, though. I'm very sad.
Or is it?
Or is it? Well, I'm going with it's the last one in case it is. Because, gosh forbid, somebody's like, oh, I heard on WFO they're going to do it again. And then I didn't go, and then it wasn't. Right. Like, so I'm going to play it out like it's the last one, but we're losing tracks, Ron. This is a bummer, but to win the last one, that's the goal.
Yeah. I hope it's not the last one, but a lot of history there. I've had some great moments at that racetrack. I've had some weird moments too at the big wheel stand there when we forgot to put fuel back in it after the warm up with the Copenhagen car. And that was a pretty scary thing to have the front end come up like it did in the funny car. But yeah, there's, a lot of things talking with NHRA, some tracks possibly popping up to add to the tour, but to go there in Houston with a chance to win the last race would be pretty neat. And, we've got obviously a lot of great fans in that area that come from Louisiana and Houston and that whole area. So yeah, it's exciting. There's a lot of fans coming from all over, I've noticed, and not just that area. I mean, it's a cool thing that they know that it could be the last race. A lot of history, a lot of cool things. I got to make sure I get a shirt from there, the last drag race. So looking forward to it.
Well, it's like the last night in a casino, right? I referenced this the other day in the press conference. Like, if you've been to Vegas enough to be there when they implode a casino or they're going to get rid of a casino, the last night that it's open always is kind of like this weird experience. Like, everybody that's like comes out to be, I was in the last night of the Stardust. That's like one of my Vegas stats, right? Before it, it's now, I guess, Resorts World, but the Stardust, it's a legendary Stardust. And I was there in the final night, and it's something like, wow, I can say that, like, look, I just said it right now on the show. It's fodder. It's a thing to be there for the last event anywhere. That having been said, though, it is kind of exciting to think about what other facilities could pop up and entertain drag racing. I know Alexis has mentioned Circuit of the Americas, and since there were 2 races in Texas, they couldn't do one. But if there's only going to be 1 race in Texas, that maybe Circuit of the Americas could be a great place to have a drag strip. And I don't want to, we could speculate so much, but new tracks have to be built. We have to go to new tracks. We can't just let this thing become fewer and fewer facilities. We'll have to figure this out somehow.
Yeah, I got a picture as a kid. I think I was 7 years old. My dad took of me on the ground. He was into photography for a little while, and so there's a great shot of the sky riding behind. I was at the Lions last drag race at Lions Drag Strip, and throughout the years, we thought maybe the last one in Chicago at Route 66, but there's rumors now we could possibly go back there. Tulsa, which is so much history in the sport of drag racing early on, so there's a chance I hear that could pop up. But yeah, Circuit of the Americas would be awesome. I've been to the F1 race there a few times and looked around, and they could really have a cool facility there, obviously. So hearing Alexis talk about that was pretty neat with her dad being involved and all. But I love the fact that all these tracks are coming back under NHRA tutelage and sanctioned, and with a chance that we could go someplace that, I look at the B2B now, especially being a team owner, that what we can do, and so many NAPA people in the Tulsa area, let's say, or whatever, Chicago. I mean, it was a huge, huge race to not go to from a sponsor standpoint. So, Englishtown on the East Coast, getting to go to Epping. I mean, it'd be nice to have another East Coast race, but yeah, it's going to be crazy. Conditions can be so good in Houston. That's the other cool thing is, you're below sea level practically. And if conditions warrant and it's not too hot, and that track can hold as good as anything. So I'm hoping, and fingers crossed, that we have a weekend with no weather, and we end that whole run of the Houston race with some awesome numbers.
40 points out of the lead, Hagen leading, Height second, 9 back, you 40 points back. Basically, it's, I don't want to call it a tie, but 4 races in, it's still, but those are the 3 cars that have run the best, right? And then sitting there in 4th, it's Cruz, who I think has run 4th best. So it's kind of shaping up exactly as it should. Is it too soon to start thinking about the way this season is going to play out long-term? Countdown for championship, all of those things. I would imagine with what I'm hearing with supply issues, parts used to be X amount of weeks. Now it's X amount of weeks times 4, whatever it is. Are you guys planning ahead so that you have everything that you need during crunch time starting now?
That's the great thing about having Guido and John Medlin. Medlin during the week is an integral part of still DSR's machine shop and making parts, all these parts that a lot of teams run. So cylinder heads and connecting rods and all that stuff. So they are so good at thinking ahead. It blows me away. I mean, I'll have a conversation with Guido last night, and when he talks about looking 2 and 3 years out right now at aluminum or things that you took for granted with what's going on in the world that may not be easy to get now. So that's great about having two guys with John Medlin and Guido as the leaders of that team. They're already thinking way out there. So I think we're okay. You know, the 3-run qualifying thing, I know the fans probably hate, not having 2 runs on Friday, some of these tracks, but it's really, it's helping keep a lot of these teams going right now. So yeah, it's going to be tough, but we're not even thinking countdown or any of that. I tell you what's funny is we're probably thinking the call out race, right, in Indy for Funny Car, and
Yes.
keeping ourselves in position to where we have a good shot at wherever we're going to end up at the U.S. Nationals with trying to win all that money. And then we don't worry about countdown. Last year was a great example. I mean, obviously we were right there in the hunt the whole time. We win in Dallas and we go to Vegas right there, but being consistent paid off because we left Vegas going to Pomona 1 race with a points lead, and then we padded that points lead what we needed to do in Pomona. So if you would have checked on us in Reading or in St. Louis, nobody really knew. Hagen's car was running good in Heights, and you just didn't know who was going to be where. And that's what the countdown's what makes it kind of cool is you don't know. It's 6-race playoff. And so we don't even think about that right now. Being in position like we did last year of having the bonus as the number 1 going into the countdown, that's great. But right now, I didn't even know Hagen took the lead till you just said that. I assumed Robert still had it. But yeah, I guess it bunched us up pretty good. So listen, we've seen it in the past. Wilkerson, that car can haul the mail. J.R. Todd's car, Alexis in the final round there. You just go down. I feel like I'm always leaving people out. Chad Green's car, Wilkerson's other car, that thing can run really well. So that's another dark horse. So you don't know. And we're just trying to keep our head above water, honestly, right now. And I love the fact that we don't hurt a lot of parts, which is important.
Yeah.
So
Team owner,
there's a lot of
a
lot of variables. That Phoenix boomer, I was like, whoa, that changes things up a little bit. You don't think about it. So anyway, yeah, it's we said it last year, Joe. Funny Car was as tight as you've ever seen it in my whole 28 years of driving Funny Car, and I think we're going to see that again this year.
Awesome. Ron, thank you very much. Obviously, I could talk to you all day, especially you're all like Hawaii relaxed and everything. We'll let you get back to it. Appreciate you spending time with us on WFO. That was a big win. I'm glad you were able to. I marvel at the fact you were able to get through the championship having all of this extra stuff on your back also. Like, that is one of the great stories untold of focusing on track stuff on track and business stuff behind the scenes at the same time, navigating all those things you were navigating, making the announcement, more announcements to come, and now to be able to cash in. And I have no idea where that audio is coming from.
The more we get out there,
let's see.
the more we discover
You hear that?
that there's a community
It sounds like Hawaiian music.
It is. It does sound like
and a membership that
it
never
does sound like
expires.
one. It's like one of the you know who it was? You know who it was? It's
Brian Loans?
No.
Oh.
Although it could be. It is kind of Brian Loans. That was NHRA.com, guys, with one of the pop-up ads that is trying to sell me a credit card membership. Obviously, it's a credit card, right? Or like Marriott or something. But, apologize for that. But Ron, thank you very much. Obviously, congratulations on the win. We'll see you in a couple weeks next week out there in Houston as we get going again. Then we'll be headed to Charlotte. And this thing, you got your big announcements. Can't wait to talk to you about that, whatever it is. I know it is. I've been telling everybody it's the return of Pontiac, baby. Finally. My favorite manufacturer is coming back, and it's going to be big news. That's what I'm hoping. So we'll see. All right. Ron, great job.
Than that. Trust me.
Okay. Better than that. Can't wait. Ron, thank you so much. Congratulations again. There he goes. Ron Capps with us here on WFO Radio. Great interview. A little long. Apologize for that, Ron. Just like get grooving, man. Get grooving with Capps and all of these great things that he's got going on. Final comments in the comment section, guys. Put them up. Let's get the comments in the comment section. Your thoughts on Capps and what's going on and all that. This is the final WFO of the week. Final WFO of the week. And we'll see what's up. We'll see what's up. But I do want to shout out to the people who make it possible. We've got some sponsors that I want you to know about, and you will benefit if you enjoy a little Rodax coffee. Marvin Rodax, coffeeandgrills.com. Hot sauces and spice rubs, everything good. 817-924-6821. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, where you can drive a dragster. Think about it. You driving a dragster for not a lot of money and purchasing nothing to do it. Like, you don't have to get a helmet. They provide all of that. Go to frankhawley.com. They travel around the country. You don't even have to fly anywhere. Just go to the local track that they happen to be going to. And then there's samtech.edu. The School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. We always say it. Start your education at full speed. They've got block and head, CNC programs, motorsport EFI tuning. They're approved to train veterans under the GI Bill. Go to samtech.edu. And if you're going down to Houston, that's where they're located. Yesterday, we picked up a couple of Patreons, VIP members who support the show behind the scenes, who want to support what we do here on WFO Radio. Thank you, Patreons. Go to WFOradio.com or patreon.com/WFO Radio. And all this stuff is behind the membership wall there, right? Like, well, what am I going to get? Can I try it out? And the answer is no. You have to, you become a member. And you get the Monday motivation, and you get some special shows and some special knowledge behind the scenes. You get to participate with the Ignition podcast. We posted that up on YouTube, and it's amazing, honestly. Exactly what Ron is saying about the people coming out of the woodwork to support him in his ownership endeavor. Except I'm providing, something a lot less extreme and, frankly, a little less cool. We just talk about drag racing and the drivers, and we're building this community. We're going to have 2 meetups, one at Indy, one at Vegas 2, of our Patreons. But people want to be a part of the community. They want to help out. And it's been amazing. Like Jay Blake jumped in to support WFO Radio and the coverage that we try to provide to the drag racing community and try to be as helpful as is possible. So thank you, Patreons. Thank you, everyone who supports. And simple as that. Shout out to Phillips Connect. We're going to be telling you a lot more about these guys in the near future. Justin Ashley doing a great job. Jim Epler doing a great job. But really, it's about over-the-road safety with tire pressure monitoring and wheel ends and just so many different sensors. That's what it is. It's connected sensors on over-the-road trucks and trailers to keep everybody out there a little safer and a little more efficient. Thanks very much to Phillips Connect. VP Racing Fuels, of course, go to their website, vpracingfuels.com, and our friends at FTIperformance.com and Total Seal Piston Rings. If you have any questions, by all means, you can email me. Let's see what people have to say before we get on out of here. Caps is always great. Ronnie the Limo Driver was starting to get, I'm so envious of Loans getting to talk to Howard Stern. That was awesome. But everything Howard said about Loans is true. That, Loans has got a good voice and a good delivery, and he has to know, you got to know everything. Those racing geeks, they expect you to know everything. And he does. He does. But I think that the real story behind the story is that the second that they started talking about it, Loans is ready and got somehow through the bat line and got there to behind the scenes. And next thing you know, he's on the air. This guy, Brian, claims to be, and there, I'm the lead guy for Fox Sports. Oh, wow. It's things like that that grow our sport. When Stern talks about drag racing, everybody's phone explodes. And there are a lot of people that don't know what drag racing is. And it's kind of our little curse that we've got this amazing sport that we love so much. And it's very challenging to tell people about it because you got to get them to the track for the very first time. Gary says, thanks. Great show. Eddie, he's in Charlotte out there. Eddie, he's got a restaurant out there. Is that still on for Charlotte, Eddie? Thanks again for another great show. Happy and blessed Easter to you and the family. Fantastic interview. Always love hearing Ron. Now, Ron has been a stalwart supporter of WFO Radio since the very beginning and before the beginning. And that's the thing about Caps. That's why we want to see him succeed. WFO. People's champ. Definitely. In many, many ways. Definitely the people's champ. All right, guys. We're out of here. In the past 10 days, we've had Ron Capps, Erica Enders, Brittany Force, Alan Reinhart twice, and we've done a couple of amazing Ignition shows. So much content. And I know not everyone has caught up with what Erica had to say, which was really big stuff. I felt newsworthy. Very newsworthy. And what Brittany had to say, newsworthy. Really appreciate them coming on the show. Attack that archive, guys. Attack it. Everything is audio and video in the WFO mobile app. The mobile app is free. It has kind of come back to life in that once upon a time, I started to think about the mobile app in a way that, well, people can get our stuff, through SoundCloud, and they can get our stuff through YouTube. But you can't get all of our stuff in one place. And that's why the WFO free mobile app for iPhone and Android. You can watch all the videos. You can watch listen to all the audio. Fast forward, rewind. The menu screen is a little dark. We're going to swap that out. These two, tremendous supporters of Ron. He was so happy to do that. Ronnie the Limo Driver. He started to get angry with me. He's like, we don't talk about the start. It's like, it's okay, Ronnie. This was a great moment I witnessed. I'm glad it was captured. And we're just getting started. We're only 4 races into this deal. And we're heading down to Houston. And guys, if you're anywhere in that area, I know some people have thought like, well, maybe there'll be another one. And maybe there will. But I'm not acting like there will. For me, I'm going to make sure that we enjoy this. So if you're anywhere near Houston, get down there and enjoy this facility. It's going to be great. Thanks to all the listeners out there. Really appreciate all you guys. Happy Easter, AJ, to you and your family. Happy Easter to everybody out there as well. Have a great rest of the week. WFO. And thanks to Ron. Appreciate all of you.